back. Today, we're back on the honey wheat. Here's 1 pound of honey that's going to be going in. This is a really easy beer to brew from an all grain perspective. It's 4 pounds of white wheat and 4 pounds of 2-row. Then you have the WB, I think it's WB06 yeast, and we have the cluster hops. And the cluster hops, there's only, sorry about jumping out of the picture, there's only like 0.6 of an ounce in there, and that's for the 60 minutes. So it's relatively straightforward. There's no second addition of hops. The only thing that's going to happen is that in the last minute of the boil, we're going to drop that pound of honey in. And as soon as that minute goes by, we're going to cut that heat, we're going to chill it down, and go into the fermentation pail. So that's about all there is. The water, the strike water is all set. I'm ready to dump into the mash tun and add the grains. So hey, let's hit it. Gallons of water at 168 degrees added to the mash tun, and now we'll start putting the grain in. And all we want to do here is make sure we don't have any dough balls as we do it. Usually I get up on a step ladder to do this, but actually this isn't all that bad. And then what we're going to do is hope that we have a target steeping temperature of 152 for an hour. It always works out good. It's a little cooler down here than usual. This morning I got up, it was 31 degrees outside. Here in the shop it was a little over 40, so I kept the grain and the mash tun in the house until I was ready to go to this step, because I don't need to start dealing with all kinds of variables in the equation. So we're getting there. All right, so as soon as this is done, we'll be on an hour-long wait, and then we'll come back and we'll start to sparge. Okay, we've done our hour. Three, 2, 1. Okay, we've done our hour, so now the next step is to try and get the wort coming through the grain bed without any grains following through. So I'm just going to open the valve a little on the mash tun, enough to get the wort coming through. And if you make it too high, the volume too high, what you're going to do is create a vacuum in the mash tun that's going to draw grain in with it. So what I'm trying to do right now, and hopefully you can see that, now I can try and bring it over a little. There's a lot of grain coming through right now. What will happen as this runs is it will start to clear up, and what we'll do is pour these back in over the grain bed once this runs clear. And then we'll start to fly sparge, run the hot 168 degree water over the grain bed, and try and get that running that way. So water flushes over the grain, comes through the grain, comes down through the wort for about an hour. That would be what I usually try to do, is get that going that way. So right now it is cleaning up. I'm seeing very little come through. And I'm going to let it continue like this for probably, I believe this is a half-gallon container. I'll probably let it run the whole half-gallon before I dump it in. And then we'll be ready to do the sparge. That'll take an hour, and then onto the boil. But we'll be back as soon as we start to sparge. Okay, as you can see, we have the sparge going now. And that's 168 degree water coming over the grain bed. And then we are dumping down into the brew kettle. So this should be about an hour-long process, thereabouts. When we're done with that, we'll come back and start the boil. All right, the wort is all in the boil kettle, and as you can probably hear, the burner's running, so we're waiting for the boil to take place, and then we'll throw in our cluster hops, 6.6 ounces. Okay, the boil has started, so we're going to throw in the 0.6 ounce of cluster hops, and then we will throw in the chiller 15 minutes before the end of the boil, and with 1 minute left, we'll drop the honey in. All right, we're ready to dump the honey. As you can see, 1 pound. It's just any honey you can buy anywhere. It doesn't need to be anything special. At least that's been my experience. I saw some stuff at farmer's market locally, but with what they wanted for it, yeah, no way. Remember, all I'm going to do here is try and get as much of this honey out as I can. And this is the last minute of the boil, so dealing with a container like this is a lot easier than dealing with the actual container that it comes in, because then you have to deal with the label and everything else if you have one on there, and I did have a paper label on there. So this is all coming out really good. I've got, let's see, about 18 seconds left before I'm going to cut the heat. That looks pretty good. So that's it for adding the honey, and I'm going to go start the chiller. What you probably can't see here very well is this is the water coming in, this is the water going out. And I put the lid on and I put a paper towel here just in the event that when I fired up the system that I'd get any spray, which hasn't happened thankfully in all the times that I've done this. For those of you that are new to the channel, what I do is I use my pool water to run through the chiller since it's a closed system. Right now the pool water is 43 degrees. So it cools the wort down very rapidly. Right now I just started it, I'm at 180 degrees. So I remember last winter in the middle of the season, I was cooling the wort down in about 10 minutes. So this is a pretty slick system, and it's green. I'm not wasting any water at all. So we'll be back when it's time to drop into the fermentation pail. All right, we're running the wort down into the fermentation pail. It took about 20 minutes, just a hair over, about 22 minutes to get it from turning the heat off down to 70 degrees. So I think that's pretty good. I think that's exceptional. And hopefully it stays that way. Again, I plan on doing almost all my brewing from this point in November through April, May time frame, and then the summer, obviously I'd prefer not to if I can avoid it, just because it's so hard to cool everything down. And you know, needless to say, if it's 115 degrees outside, in here it's going to be just as warm, maybe warmer with this thing running. So anyway, we'll let this go fill up, and then we will aerate the wort, and we'll drop the yeast in, and we're done. All right, let's get a little oxygen in here, just a little. There we go. Again, you don't want to over aerate it. Just enough to give the yeast a little something to go on. I ended with a gravity reading of 1.053. Beersmith had predicted a 1.051, so in there. Okay, I'm going to go drop that in the sanitizer, and I'm going to sprinkle the yeast over the top, put on the lid, the airlock, and we're done. And we'll be back to wrap it up. That's how easy it is to brew that Honey Weiss. And this, by the way, is the amber ale, which is an awesome brew. Kind of everything you thought a microbrew beer should be, and more. Cheers. It's an awesome beer. And amber and chocolate stout are the only beers I really have left right now. So the Honey Weiss will be a welcome addition along with the Kolsch that's getting brewed tomorrow. So this thing's all put to bed, and everything turned out within the specs, you know, with plus or minus, you know, 1 point. So I think everything's going to turn out just great, and looking forward to doing another batch of this. I think I'm probably going to go honey wheat, Kolsch, probably follow that up with another honey wheat, and then I'll break into probably the High Life clone ale and a couple other things. But right now I think chocolate stout I'm good on. I'm good on amber ale, and that should slowly get caught up over time. I do have enough ingredients to do the chocolate stout and the amber, and I do need to fit it in at some point, but it's not pressing at this point. So really got to get kind of stocked up on the light beers, because that's what everybody likes to drink when they come over, with the exception of my buddy Alan, who loves the chocolate stout. So that's it. Hope you guys have a great week, a great homebrew Wednesday. Cheers.
This has been a Matty Boy presentation. Say bye-bye, Matty.
Bye-bye.